Good morning, everybody. I'm John Jerkowitz. It's Thursday, November 6th, and it's 10:30 a.m. in the central part of the good old United States of America. Welcome to my weekly Hangout on Air. Today, I'm going to deal with part two of screen sharing and HOA, setting up your screen share. And that was going to be the full intent of my Hangout. And I got some feedback after last week. Some people asked me about the use of animation. Other people said to me, what about inserting videos into the screen share presentation? I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to share with you how I do it. Let's start with a little bit of a disclaimer. There are probably as many ways to do a screen share presentation as there are hairs on my head. Okay, bad comparison, as there are whiskers in my beard. What I would suggest you do is you pick the one that's the most comfortable for you. And I'm going to go through some very elementary things in this presentation, because it dawned on me with some of the feedback I got that there were a lot of folks who didn't even know how to set up the screen sharing tool. So I'm going to share that with you this morning here in a few seconds. Let me get back to what kind of platform you use for screen sharing, the one you're comfortable with. I see a lot of people making mistakes. Yours truly made the same mistake. Going out and get the latest and greatest piece of audio visual graphic software. Well, there's a big problem. If you don't know how to use it, it doesn't create any value for you or your business. So let me stop right there and give you my perspective. I'm a business person. My role in life is helping small businesses create some traction and foothold in the marketplace, and I do that a number of different ways. If the tools and techniques I use aren't effective, who do you think is going to do business with me? Not you. So it's just like learning anything else. For those of you who ride bikes, do you remember the first time you got on a bike? You didn't hop on a 10-speed, learn how to switch gears and go up and down hills, unless you were a prodigy. You started off with training wheels, and then you graduated to pedaling down the driveway, and then maybe down the street, and then around the block. And the more you enjoyed cycling and the more you got comfortable with it, the more advanced you became. Till one day you won the Tour de France and everybody went, yay. Here's my point. Start out with something basic, relatively inexpensive, and something that you're comfortable using. That's kind of my opening line. One last little rejoinder, because it happened to me about 45 minutes ago, and what little hair I had left almost ended up on the top of my desk when I freaked out. The PowerPoint presentation I'm going to show you crashed. Now, I'm running Windows 8.1 on this computer, so there is an auto backup that will take the last place I was in that presentation and it'll back it up for me. If you're running Windows 7 or earlier versions of Windows, you have to set that up manually, and that's a Windows issue. Right? It's also pertinent to the software you use, but there is no more sinking of a feeling than to get ready to do something and going, oh my gosh, it's not working. So if you just give me a second here, I'm going to begin our screen sharing, animation, and video in Hangouts on Airs. And you see my little friend up in the right-hand corner as we're looking at the screen is already excited and happy. Let's get started. Okay, first of all, and again, this is feedback I get from those of you out there in HOA land. Who am I and what do I do? Well, my main function in life is I'm an adult educator. There is nothing I enjoy more than training and development. I love helping people create programs to advance their business, to advance their careers, or to advance their employees' careers. I just love doing it. I'm a small business consultant. Back in the old days, being the year 2000, ain't that amazing? 15 years ago was the year 2000. Back in the old days, you sat down with somebody and you created a business plan and you handed them off to a marketing consultant who handed them off to an accountant who handed them off to a fill in the blank. Well, then 2008 came along. We lost just about everything, including the shirts on our back. And as small businesses, if we wanted to survive, we needed to think smarter. And I hate to use this phrase, but think outside the box. So I work with my clients primarily to create an online presence. I work with them to create a strategy to develop their brand and niche and help them get off the ground successfully. Third thing I do is I'm a career development coach and consultant, which means I believe, as many of you do, that the people in your organization are your strongest asset. And over the life of your company, you will make the most significant investment you ever make in your people. So that's real quick what I do, who I am. So what are we going to do today? Okay. Well, first of all, how do I set up the screen sharing tool? 1,000 apologies to those of you who wrote to me, messaged me, pinged me, sent up smoke signals, tried to shoot me on the way to Starbucks. No. Forgive me. I thought everybody knew this, but then I realized, gee, John, about a year ago, you didn't know what end was up. So the next thing we're going to see is, how do I set up an online PowerPoint presentation? Somebody said to me last week, I really enjoyed what you did. How did you set that up? And finally, using animation and video. So let's get started. Want to? How do I set up screen sharing? If you look up in the left hand, there's a toolbar, and I've circled in red the little green box with the arrow pointing towards the screen, and that's your screen sharing button. So anytime you get ready to do a presentation outside of your Hangout on Air, what you want to do is click on that green button. Well, what happens when I click on the green button, John? Do I win $1 million? I wish, otherwise I'd be here clicking it all day. No, it's going to take you to this screen. And what you're looking for is it's going to show you everything that's running in the background behind your HOA. Do not freak. I freaked the first time I did this. Okay. Now you notice kind of yellow. It's a PowerPoint slideshow I did a couple days ago for a client of mine. And for the purposes of this training, I opened it prior to starting the presentation. Why did I do that? Our time is valuable. Our time is precious. I've committed a half hour to be with you all here this morning. I know just me, maybe I get a little OCD at times, but I put it on my calendar that I'm going to be with you for a half hour. Well, if I go 45 minutes, 50 minutes, or I'm kind of playing off in the gutter there, you lose interest. And the purpose of doing a good Hangout on Air is to convey your message, whatever it is. So set your presentation up in the background ahead of time. So there you go. All you have to do is highlight it, and that's a left click of your mouse. And when you do that, you'll notice down at the bottom, the share button lights up. You click on the share button, voila. That's the beginning of the screen sharing program I did, and it has a Hangout on Air last week. Now, you notice down at the bottom, there's a little slide that says, Google Hangouts is sharing your screen with Google+. When you're done, you can stop sharing, right? You don't have to go minimize it, go back, pull it back up, the whole 9 yards. And when we're done, I'll show you what to do, okay? But you'll notice the presentation is prepared and it's ready to go. And in a moment, I'm going to show you how to do that. But somebody asked me the other day, how do you print those screens, John? So through the wonders of my Galaxy S5 smartphone, which I will admit is often smarter than me, took a picture of my keyboard here. And if you'll notice, circled in red is a little key next to the delete button that says print screen. Now, anytime you're on a screen that you want to save and you want to print, all you have to do is hit that. And that will automatically take a snapshot of the screen you're on. Now, mine, and here's something you gotta be careful about, because at one time I spent like 35 minutes doing an OMG, where did it go? Mine automatically goes into my Dropbox folder, and it automatically goes under screen share. What I'm able to do then is simply insert that as a picture into a presentation I'm doing, and then using editing tools, but that's a different subject for a different day. Okay, so I just thought I'd share that with you in case you don't know how to print screen. And again, at the end, I'm going to give you some contact information. Be more than glad to walk you through. All you got to do is ping me when I'm online. If you've got any questions, be more than glad to help you. Okay, let's move on. How do I set up an online PowerPoint presentation? Well, that's a good question, John. All right. Again, if you look and you're using PowerPoint, and let me go back a few minutes. And remember when we started the Hangout, I said to you, use the tool you're the most comfortable with. Right. There's some wonderful presentation tools out of there. Camtasia comes to mind. For me, it's a bit pricey, but even if I had that tree in the backyard marked money, I have no clue how to use it. Absolutely no clue. Now, I'm sure there's a number of you out there who the good Lord blessed with technical grace, who are kind of smiling and shaking your head and saying, oh, John, trust me, okay? But I do know how to use PowerPoint. And remember, the purpose of screen sharing is to get your point across. There are other vehicles, and I'm sure some of you who are more technically apt take that tool and use it really, really well. Same thing with lower thirds. I mean, I have a very simple lower third. There's other people who have stuff that I look at and go, oh, wow, okay. It's not me. Be yourself. Okay, so what are you going to do? First of all, in PowerPoint, you're going to select slideshow. I have that highlighted with the red circle. And then you have set up slideshow. It's highlighted by the blue box. And this is really simple. How do I know I can do this? All right. This isn't like you got to do 5,000 different things, put in your operating system, stand on your head, wiggle your ears, and then try to do 5,000 chin-ups or something like that. Okay. I have a blue box. I know this is a little hard to see. It's going to open a box for you, and you're going to click the little circle that says browsed by individual window. What is that going to do? See everything I have boxed in red on the side? It's going to remove that. Okay. If I had not done that, or I had simply opened PowerPoint, this is really important. If you're taking notes, whether it be in Evernote, OneNote, pad and paper, tablet, computer, really, really important. Set your show up prior to your presentation. Because if you go in and you haven't clicked that little circle there to browse in an individual screen, what you're going to get is you're going to get all this stuff on the side and the bottom, or you're going to get a full screen that you can't minimize to start your Hangout. Okay? Little tricky. And then once you do that, you click OK. And that's going to take you to what I have on the screen right here. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you happen to notice that I play Guild Wars Part 2 and things of that nature along the tray on the bottom. But let's talk about using animation and video, okay? And I enjoy doing this, and I think this can be a very good teaching and information tool for you if you learn to use it right. I'm going to stop here for just a second again. And what I want to talk about is it's not so much the technical aspect, okay? It's how you're using your content. What's effective for you? Years ago, there was a company out of Minnesota founded by a gentleman by the name of Bob Pike, and it was called Creative Training Techniques International. And for $95, you sat in a room with, about 60, 70 other people, and a certified trainer for Creative Training Techniques International went over different tools and techniques for live performance that would work for you. Matter of fact, they made you a guarantee. If you didn't learn 20 new and different techniques, they would completely refund your money. I went every year for 5 or 6 years. Not so much to learn new training techniques, because I did, but I'd sit in the back of the room with a notepad and I'd write down what worked for me and what didn't. I'm a storyteller, for example. You've heard me tell you a couple stories here today, and if you follow my HOAs, you've heard me tell stories before. And a bit of shameless self-promotion, if you've bought my new ebook, These Three Things, 99 cents on Amazon, you'll see it's full of stories to make the points that I wanted to share with my readers. I'm not comfortable using some other platforms, okay? For example, in the theater of live training, I don't do visual gags and things like that very well. I'm not the most coordinated person in the world physically. Well, I'm not asking you to feel sorry for you. I mean, I'm not asking you to cry, oh, poor John. I'm just saying that's not me, okay? I speak well, I read well, I write well. I connect with other human beings. I have a lot of integrity. That's my brand. So when I go to use animation and video to get my point across, because even you, faithful and loyal followers, don't want to hear me talk for 2 hours. I use very simple animation and video. Now, here, I know on top of being really good looking, I read minds. Hey, if you're sitting on top of a big bag of money and you want to make that investment to have somebody do it for you, go for it, okay? Look, I'm all for free enterprise and I'm all for all of us being successful. But if you're just getting started, if this whole HOA thing is brand new to you like it was to me about a year ago, work with somebody who can show you the ground rules and give you some tools and techniques that you become comfortable with. Okay, end of sermon. Let's move on. I'm going to share with you something I did with a mastermind coaching group I'm facilitating. Group of people, we've started working on goal setting for 2015 in a different sort of way. I won't get into content too much, but as they logged into the film strip and I got them all going and we did the introductions and it was a private video chat and kind of shared what was going on, I started this presentation and I said, I want you to reflect on it and I'd like you to tell me what it means to you. Okay. And please feel free to share with everybody in the film strip and things of that nature. And I left it up there about 5 minutes and could kind of hear them writing because I never asked. When I'm in a private chat, I don't ask people to mute unless there's a lot of ambient background noise and stuff. Okay. So after I did that, I said, what's missing? Well, everybody kind of laughed. Well, gee, John, the guy's holding the red puzzle piece, and it's the missing link to him and his goal. I said, yeah, very good. I've trained you well. What's missing for you? Have you stopped to think about some of the goals you said? Let me give you a little training, about 10 seconds of training moment here, because I just can't help myself. Most of the time, we refurbish our old goals. We kind of dust them out and say, I'm going to be healthy because last year I was going to lose weight and the year before that I was going to exercise. Well, as my grandma used to say, God rest her soul, you're in the same church, you're just in a different pew. Right. So I said, what's missing in your journey? Okay. And I want you to take some time and I want you to write it down. Okay. You kind of get my point. I'm not going to go through this. Gave him a half hour to do this. Then I asked him to share with one another. Talk about, get some insight. All right. And then how's that going to make a difference in your life? Now, while all this was going on, I was doing 5 or 6 other things. By the way, remember, if you use this as a tool, mute yourself. I happened to go over to my desktop computer one time while I was doing something similar to this and was reading an email from a close friend, and there was a joke in there, and I broke out laughing, and I had not turned my microphone off, and so everybody wanted to know just what the heck was so funny. 90 minutes, one slide, click, click, and we wrapped up. That's animation. Animation isn't necessarily people bouncing across the screen. It can be. You saw on the first slide I had the little guy clapping his hands. Okay, next. Somebody asked me about video. Okay. And how can you use video? Well, I'm going to show you. Not sure where that one came from. Hey, at any rate, someone asked me about using videos, recorded videos, in an HOA screen share presentation. So I thought I'd give you a bit of an example, let you know how you can do that. This video I recorded and uploaded from my hard drive. In the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about uploading videos from YouTube and what you want to do and don't want to do. But at any rate, as you can see around me, you can use this and augment it with text, for example, a document. You can use a picture. There's me in a tough negotiation with a current client. Actually, it's my grandson. Or you can put a chart or a graph and explain it. Well, why wouldn't I just want to use a regular presentation format, John? Well, maybe the next part of your hangout on air, after the presentation, you're going to have 1 or 2 panelists in. You want to make sure they're set up right, that they're muted while the slideshow presentation is going on, things of that nature. This gives you an opportunity, without hurrying and rushing around, to be able to set up for the next part of your HOA. So that's how we do a video. Here's the next slide. And actually, I didn't mean to click to it. But this is a video I uploaded from YouTube. Now, listen to me carefully. I'm going to speak slowly. Make sure you have the rights, i.e., it's your video. I took this video off of my account. It's from my Monday motivation that I do periodically. I'm not going to play the video for you. It's a 9-minute video, but I uploaded it from my YouTube account. If you notice in the background, I kind of tiled one of my marketing banners or stickers, if you will. Okay. Well, why did you do that, John? Because everyone knows you can embed videos in your web page. You can embed videos in your Google profile page. You can probably embed videos under the hood of your car. And if you can't, you will be able to shortly. I'm going to tell you why. Once again, you want continuity. And I'm going to refer here to live presentations. How many times have you been to a seminar where you know the speaker just isn't as prepared as they need to be, and they're kind of fumbling around and they're saying, well, I got this here somewhere. Or, hey, look, if you guys want to see this, then you go to yada 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 at yada yada yada.com. Okay. And you kind of sit there and go, what was that again? You bring a video that you pre-recorded, say, hey, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I really did this thing on motivation, and I really think this is a good part for us to look at this. You can embed it. Make sure you have the rights. And if it's not your video, make sure you have permission to use it. One thing, whether it's a video that you took from online or a video that you took from your hard drive, when you go to play that, okay, because I didn't do this, so I had to be really quiet, which for me is like stepping on a bed of nails. Mute your microphone, because you're going to be talking. And if you start talking or you breathe hard or you cough or the dog decides that it's time to go outside, at least you have you're not going to have interference. Okay. So those are two examples of how you insert video. And finally, and I do this with all loving care and understanding, because I'm 61 years old and my entire life people say, oh, that's John Jerk. Well, that's John J. So my last name is pronounced the anglicized version, Jerkowitz. You're not going to hurt my feelings. You can imagine what people have done with that over the ages. Okay. If you want to reach me, you can reach me through my website, which, by the way, is under construction, and it kind of looks like it's under construction. So don't judge me. Please don't judge me. Okay. And secondly, there's my email address. And hey, if you ever want to talk, call me. Worst thing I can tell you is I'm with someone. That's kind of a real quick run through. I'm going to be doing more of these. I'm also going to be offering in the next couple weeks an opportunity for people to kind of delve a little deeper if they'd like to take advantage of that, and how to use content to really supercharge your HOAs. So I'm going to stop the screen share here now. See how easy that was? Okie dokie. Content is probably as important as understanding the technical ramifications of setting up a good HOA, and an HOA that people go, oh my goodness. Look, I'm going to sit here and tell you, I've done more of the oh my goodness HOAs than I have, wow, that was really great, John. Okay. But here's what I've learned. Practice, 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 practice. Especially on the things that show up on the toolbar on the side. Create a Hangout. You can create a video chat and play around with it. My good friend in the user-to-user community, Sheila Hensley, who's teaching me how to use the comment tractor effectively without being absolutely scared to death and petrified of it. Notice how I jiggle. Said something last night when I was in an HOA with her and a number of other people. She said, you know, once you use it 3 times, it's no longer technical. It's just something you do. There's a lot of wisdom there. There's a lot of wisdom that applies not only to how you effectively set up an HOA technically, but how you put content in that can be used well. This platform is becoming more and more a platform for small business owners to use as an opportunity to market. Now, big disclaimer, my lawyers like when I throw out disclaimers. I'm not a social media expert. Okay? I know how to spell marketing. I market John. That's what I market. There are some really good folks out there that can help you with these, but one of the things I'd like to help you with is to be able to put some good content in there, because what do you remember when all is said and done? You remember the content. So thanks for spending some time with me this morning. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next week or so, and we'll talk a little more about how you can create some effective Hangouts. Hope you have a great Thursday. Bye-bye now.